While Republicans like Attorney General Ken Paxton have been filing lawsuits against the NCAA for allowing men to compete with women, and Republicans like Nancy Mace have been fighting to pass bills to, again, bar men from competing with women, you have pro blacks, Democrats like Jasmine Crockett, who are trying to get into love and hip hop type arguments, all in the defense of trans nonsense, which of course they compare to the whole pro black movement. And there's a lot of pro blacks who are wondering, well, why Jasmine Crockett is pairing black issues with trans issues. Well, dummy, if you haven't been paying attention, is because they are attached. Because the pro black nonsense, just like the feminist nonsense, and now the trans nonsense, it's all talking points under the Democrat Party. And this has always been the case. And I don't know if these liberal Negroes are just that ignorant or that much in denial to realize uh, why any self-respecting so-called black male views all the pro-black nonsense, whether it be FBA, Pan-Africanist, ADOS, why any self-respecting man, let alone so-called black man, just views it all as gay. Because it's ultimately all tied to gay bullshit. I mean, because again, as a male, you have to have a matriarchal mindset and effeminate mentality to 24/7 blame another man for everything, which is why there's no manhood in blaming Whitey. But yet and still, they go along with it, and they go along with it because, quite frankly, the so called community, as we know, is undoubtedly ran by so called black women, including loudmouth dingbats like her, Jasmine Crockett. And even though you'll get posts online where you'll see some so-called black people like call her out and proclaim that she doesn't represent the community, but in reality, we know that's a lie from the pit of hell. Like, sure, they'll criticize her online, but simultaneously online, they'll support policies that push the very thing that she's defending, which is men in female spaces, which includes little girls, by the way. And so, again, that's why when you're spouting whatever variation of this pro black nonsense, you're just spouting gay shit because that's what it's attached to. And it's always been attached to that. James Baldwin, he was getting his dookie shoot inserted by some, woke white man back during the civil rights era. And yeah, it's always been attached to that. Feminism, uh, LGBTQ, and the pro-black nonsense. They've always been one and the same, which is why it wasn't a shocker when one of the more notable pro-black movements, BLM, was attached to a bunch of lesbian black women, or at least got attached to them. I mean, it could have started somewhere else, just like Me Too. That was started by a black woman, but it ultimately got attached to sort of the mainstream activism. And whether they want to acknowledge it or not, that's all these pro-black Negroes are. They're just agents of the Democrat Party. And Jasmine Crockett perfectly encapsulates that because she takes on the sister girl persona to the nth degree. Even though you can find interviews of her actually talking like a human being, but like I said, she'll put on the ratchet mammy persona because they know, well, that's what Negroes are like, despite what they may criticize online. And again, that's the thing that I've observed and come to realize long ago as a so-called Negro myself is that yeah, Negroes will aggressively criticize each other, but if they vote Democrat or they support liberal ideology, they'll still be in lockstep ultimately. And so, even when you see these constant gender wars that play out online between so-called black men and black women, divestors versus swirlers, black men with white women, uh, black women with white men, the people that says only black queens, all of them ultimately will still adhere to the same social, political, liberal ideology that they've been adhering to. And it's why Negroes are the only monolith politically in this country, which this most recent election showed. Again, 92% for the women, 80 plus percent for the men. That's pathetic. No other demographic has been taken a hold of that much by either one of the parties. Now, there are some demographics that should be far more on the right than they are. Uh, Particularly, I'm talking about the woke white saviors out there, and even the Latinos to an extent, which they're finding out more and more with this whole beef over the origins of hip hop and how racist Negroes are against them. But yeah, as it stands now, though, only demographic that is gotten, that is owned that much by one party, is so-called black folks. And so it shouldn't be a mystery or a wonder why Jasmine Crockett pairs so-called black issues with trans issues. They've been doing that. And guess what? So-called black people have been supporting it.